phone. Namaste. Welcome to the Soma Matha online Sangha. Join us in practice for inner peace, which brings clarity in life, improving health, relationships, success, and prosperity, and which prepares the mind for true meditation, which awakens intuitive knowing and spiritual sight. Each week, we are announcing upcoming events and opportunities to participate in the activities of the Soma Matha organization based near Richmond, Virginia. Led by Swami Gananathamritananda, the Soma Matha is dedicated to spreading authentic teachings on spiritual yoga, mantra, meditation, Ayurveda, and other Vedic sciences for the peace of the world. We are working to build a temple for goddess Shakambhari Devi. Each week we will be sharing a teaching from Swamiji, doing a group mantra practice and meditation, and conducting a simple puja or prayer ceremony for the goddess to humbly supplicate her to bestow her blessing upon the Sangha. A Sangha is a spiritual community who come together to support one another in their practice. Each individual gains strength in their practice from the collective effort of the group. Sangha feeds our practice. It nourishes us and empowers our efforts. It smooths and balances the challenges we face as it lifts our consciousness into subtler realms. Namaste, I'm Grant Ottinger. I've been studying with Swamiji for a few years, and he's asked me to lead the Sangha since internet connection is weak at the property and live broadcast difficult. Swamiji will be watching the Sangha and participating in the group practices and sending video teachings for the group each week. To receive, we must give. Our efforts to provide this virtual space and to publish the many free teachings available on the website, YouTube channel, Facebook pages are dependent upon your support. We are encouraging all Sangha participants to formalize their connection by becoming Sangha members and pledging their monthly support through the Patreon. There are 5 different tiers of support so that you can contribute according to your ability. All Sangha members receive access to additional teachings and opportunities for support in their practice offered through Patreon. If you'd like to deepen your practice and your connection to the Sangha, please visit our Patreon and pledge your support. The link is provided in the description of this live video. Please help us to continue this service to humanity by deepening your spiritual connection and supporting our efforts in whatever ways you are able. For news, Swami has asked people to continue the practice of daily lighting a ghee lamp and doing 108 repetitions of the Mahamrityunjaya mantra for world healing, specifically for the COVID situation around the world and in India. If 108 repetitions is too much, please do however many you can. Reach out to us via the website for questions about this practice. We are still working to raise money to purchase a new property. We have so far raised only $20,000 of our goal of $300,000. The property is still for sale, and we are hosting viewings multiple times a week. We are praying for a smooth transition to a new place where we can offer our services and invite people for prayer and worship. We are still working to prepare the plants, animals, and items for a move to a new property, as well as working on finding a loan for the next property. Volunteers are needed, as well as monetary donations. Please reach out to us via the website for more information. Now we will share a recorded teaching from Swamiji.
Hello, namaste. We've been talking about the yamas and niyamas of yoga. Yama means, these are, first let me just say, these are the first 2 preliminary steps in yoga. Patanjali tells us even before we do the asana practice, we've got to practice yama and niyama to prepare ourselves for the higher practice of yoga. And then asana, if we can sit comfortably, there's no need to practice asana. We can go right to the higher practices of the yoga. But without practicing yama and niyama, it will be useless to do the other practices. And one of the yoga teachers that brought the yoga in the 20th century to the West, I don't recall, it may have been Iyengar, it may have been Patabi Joyce. One of these teachers, they said something along the lines that yoga without yama and niyama is just acrobatics. And that, if you're doing just the asana practice, of course, that is true. So we make ourselves ready to do the practice by practicing the yama and niyama. Yama is a restraint, so we stop ourselves from doing certain things like behaving violently, stop ourselves from lying. And niyama means we can practice without restraint. We, as much as we can, as much as we want, as much as we're able, we practice these things without restraint, niyama. And so we've just completed talking about the 10 yamas, and so we'll start talking about the 10 niyamas today. And the first is hri. Hri. It means shame or remorse. If you've done something that hurt somebody, if you've done something out of egoism, you've done something that wasn't entirely pure motivation, then you've got to feel remorse and take responsibility for what you did. There's a lot of people going around giving apologies. They say, sorry, sorry, sorry. Then they do the same thing again and again. And those, sorry, I'm so sorry. Of course, we can't just speak these words and say, I'm sorry, and give a meaningless apology. If someone's really sorry, they'll stop doing the things that's hurting other people, and they'll make amends. They'll make up for what they did. If we say something hurtful that insults a person, we can compliment them. However, the compliments, people don't take it so seriously. The way the human mind is working, if we say something negative, it will be very influential to them. It will affect them a lot. But if we say something positive, it won't affect them so much. So maybe we have to say 10, 15, 20 compliments to undo one insult. But we can make amends in this way. If we did something wrong, we stole something, we hurt someone's chance to be promoted, we can work to get them promoted. We can pay back what was stolen. And so remorse, showing remorse, genuine remorse. I'm sorry, I did that. We've got to be humble to admit our faults. And then we've got to be courageous to try to make amends for what we've done wrong. A lot of people, they're not living this way. They're just so much ego, they can't say they're sorry. They can't admit if there's any fault. They can't try to make up for it. Really, as we do the yoga practice and we practice these yamas and niyamas, eventually we get to a point it doesn't matter to us. We can, I'm sorry, and we try to help and fix the problem. That's really what it's about, is fixing the problem, mitigating the karma, undoing any bad you did by doing something good that will undo it. Like the example of if you stopped someone from being promoted, you can see to it that they are promoted. You keep working and presenting them and introducing them and helping them, putting in good words until they succeed at being promoted if you held them back. If you stop someone from having success at whatever they're doing in life, you can help them to have success. Or if you stole something, you can pay it back. And if you stole something 20 years ago, like we probably discussed this again with the non-stealing, you should pay the current value of what it was, what it's worth, not what the value was at that time. If there was inflation, your karmas have inflated as well. And so doing these kind of things, making amends, trying to make things right that we did wrong, this is how we clean up our karma. We can do this all the time. We can try to help people. And if those people are not there who we hurt, if they've died, if they won't speak to us because they're so angry, if they've moved away and we can't get in contact with them, then we can help other similar people. If you stole from someone, you can give to someone else. If you If you stopped someone from being promoted, you can help someone else. If you can't help that person, you can compliment another person if you insulted a person who will no longer listen because you insulted them too much. We've got to be humble to admit those faults. There's got to be some reason. We need not understand what it is. And the point here is not to beat yourself up and think you're a bad person, because you can get a negative attachment there too. The point is to try to make up for what you've done wrong. You don't have to understand it. Sometimes it's just karma. Maybe a lot of people think that you're saying things that is hurtful and you're not meaning to be hurtful. And so there's karma there too. Maybe you're not talking out of any attachment that you're aware of. You're not angry at the person. You're not trying to insult them. You're not trying to put them down so other people will think low of them. You know, you don't know why. Maybe it's just the karma. Maybe it's just the astrology. Maybe you have some Rahu in your second house of speech, or some Mars in your second house of speech, causing your speech to be a little bit intense and harsh, and maybe it's off-putting to people. And so there's some subtle karmas you're working on there. You may not understand. You may not have been angry speaking. These planets speaking through you. Anytime you do anything, you steal something, maybe you had a Ketu or a Rahu placed in the wrong place. Maybe you had a Saturn placed in the wrong place. You can always say it's the astrology. It's not you acting. We're not the doer. God is the doer. And the astrology is one way we can get insight into that. We can start to see it. We can say, okay, I'm going to be acting a little bit greedy, a little bit overindulgent, a little bit too sensual, because my Venus and my Jupiter is placed in some particular place. In the fifth house of enjoyment and indulgences, if we have a debilitated Jupiter there, the person will be greedy and indulging. Our enjoyment, our recreation is indicated by the fifth house. We get the Venus there, debilitated in some unfriendly sign with the negative planets aspecting. The person may be overindulgent. They may be eating too much food and they start to get fat. The planet's doing it. The planet, they call them the grahas, navagrahas. 9 planets, 9 Caesars. They possess us. And we start to take on the qualities of those planets. And that's why they call them grahas, Caesars. They seize us and they act through us. They cause us to do what we're doing. And so if we've done wrong, admit it. And don't just say you're sorry. Feel that you're sorry and try to make up for it. Because by doing so, you can please the planets. But don't hang on to that guilt and beat yourself up over it. Don't put yourself down saying, I'm so greedy, I'm so fat, I'm so selfish, I'm so angry, I'm so mean. That's no good. Just make up for it. If you're being angry, then just be really positive and joyful. And then the angry outburst comes, because your Mars, your Rahu is probably transiting, your natal nakshatra or the sun is transiting their place in your chart or something. So that outburst comes. Maybe you're doing your yoga practice and it unlocks deeper levels of this anger, of this frustration, of this lack of patience, and it pours out. And so then as soon as you notice, stop it and say, I'm sorry, and make up for it. If you've been yelling at someone, then you say the kind words. If it's a family member, if it's your children, your spouse, you can give them a massage or something to make them feel good after you've made them feel bad. And then just always practice the positive opposite. Patanjali tells us this. Patanjali says if we're struggling with any negative mental emotional traits, anger, greed, lust, fear, depression, sadness, all these kind of negative emotions, all we have to do is practice the positive opposite. That's the remedy in yoga. It's just like Ayurveda. Ayurveda is an allopathic medicinal system. It's not a homeopathic system. In homeopathy, we take the substance that causes the problem, we give that to the person in a minute dose, and energetically it helps to bring about healing. Homeopathy, same, homeo, homeopathy. You use the same thing for poison ivy rash. We eat the poison ivy in a minute dose to treat it in homeopathy. In allopathic medicine, we take something that's different. The body has a rash, that's too. How we put something that's cool on there? Some calamine lotion or whatever they're using nowadays, probably full of all kind of antibiotics and crazy stuff we don't want on the skin. Unless you're maybe in the UK, then you probably have to get a prescription for all this stuff. In the US, they just sell it to babies over the counter in the drugstore. The same in Ayurveda, we use something cooling, some ghee, or some tylums that has cooling, soothing herbs cooked into it, shatavari roots and things. We can put cooling things to ease the pitta, the heat. Rash is red, it's hot, it's spreading, it burns, it's pitta dosha. And so if we have high pitta, we need something that's cooling to balance it. And then vata is too cold. So we have too high vata, we need something that's warm. We need something that's grounding, because vata floats around like the air. There's too much movement, too much air, too much wind. We need something grounding. And so yoga is also an allopathic system. Yoga tells us if you're feeling sadness, practice happiness. Do the things that make you happy, be happy. Say happy words to everybody. Stop watching the drama movies where they break the heart and then the Nazis come and kill everybody or whatever. We don't need to watch this historic drama all about broken heart. We need something uplifting, something fun, light-hearted comedy. If you feel too much fear, don't watch the horror movie where the guy chases you around with a knife, you know. That will increase the fear only. Again, maybe light-hearted comedy, nature documentary, spiritual movie. Something uplifting. Something with a moral message, a good message, older, maybe a remake of some old literature or something could be more uplifting and more positive than these modern movies. Modern society and modern media is very negative meanings in a lot of the media, and we see that all on the Facebook and social media, and so avoiding all that can help us in this. Of course, don't introduce these things into your mind, the negative things. But whatever it is, if there's anger, practice love and forgiveness. Practice compassion and patience. If you're impatient, practice patience. That's the solution, Patanjali says. Don't give attention to the negative thing. And of course, in this niyama of Hri, we practice the opposite thing to the person in particular. It need not be a person. It could be a store. It could be an organization. It could be the government. It could be the police. It could be anything. If we've said negative words about the police, it's a negative karma. Now we have to say 20, 50 positive words. If we posted it on the social media and 100 people saw it, we might need to post it again on the social media many a time until many people see it to counterbalance it. And we can't make some justification and say this is a bad person, so it's okay for me to do bad to them. No, every person is God. Every person is sent to us by God. We have to be kind and compassionate to everybody. And we can't say this person just did a bad thing, so now I can do bad to them. We can't say this is a bad organization. We can't say this is a bad political party, a bad store, a bad corporation. It's very popular now to say bad things about the leaders and these businessmen who are making so many good products that everybody is benefiting from. We have the PayPal and the Facebook and the telephones and the computers. And then people will criticize these guys, and they're so evil and they're doing bad things. And we need not say bad about them. We need not say bad about anyone, really, necessarily. There's a time in self-defense people have to speak up for their rights. But to just criticize and say negative things, these people have feelings too. And organizations also, we can't put the negative energies out there. Maybe not in this lifetime, but in a future lifetime, you may have some organization that's coming under attack. And why is it? Maybe because you didn't practice Kri in this lifetime. Maybe you were saying bad things about organizations. Of course, we don't want to encourage really bad activities in the world. We don't want to encourage an organization like the KKK or the neo-Nazi people. We don't want to say, like, that's good, do that. We don't want to be dishonest. But we need not say negative things. We need not put these people down. They're struggling. They have their own karmas, their own struggles. We've got to find a way to look at them as people, talk to them in a way they might hear it, they might understand. Then they might develop some love and compassion in their hearts. If we can be loving and compassionate, even to the worst, most vicious, vile people in the world, violent, hateful, hurtful, selfish, they need love. Probably they grew up in a home that didn't have much love. If you look at almost any of these serial killer people and the mass shooter people, not always with mass shooter people, that's more a fashion statement sometimes now. Unfortunately, it's so crazy. But the serial killers, if you look in their past, their childhood was abusive. They didn't have that love. If they had, they're traumatized and they're acting out because they don't know how to heal. They need compassion, they need love, they need help. If we can show love to them, maybe it will heal their hearts and inspire love within them. Really, we respond to these people with hatred and fear. We need to respond with love to help them, because ultimately only love can combat fear and anger and violence in the world. Anger comes from fear, and the violence arises from the anger. And so, like Patanjali says, we combat that fear with love, with peace, with happiness, with patience, with compassion. So this is not about beating ourselves up. It's not about putting ourselves down. It's about making ourselves into the people we want to be. And the more we practice, the more we can feel guilty and unworthy and feel this shame. But that's not the point of this practice. Ri means shame, but it's not to make us shameful. It's to make us humble and to inspire us to, and really, because we don't want to, without restraint, practice shame. Oh, what is, I'm a shame. What a shame. I'm a shameful person. It's a shame. Oh, what a shame. I'm a shame. And this is a bad practice, of course, so this is not what is intended. What is intended is we have that humbleness that we can make ourselves a better person. The humbleness to say, I've been too angry. I've been raising my voice at my girlfriend, my mother, my children, my husband, my wife, my co-workers. Once we can admit that, then we can practice patience, love, compassion, and saying nice things that builds these people up. That's really what this practice is. That's what we should be doing without restraint, not being shameful. Word is shame, hri. But the meaning is from that arising and practicing the positive. Positive opposite of whatever faults in us we can continue to be revealed to us. And it may make sense, it may not make sense. Don't keep it with you. Don't blame yourself. The planets will transit and you'll be behaving in a different way. And then later you'll die and you'll have the whole new astrology next time around and you'll be behaving in a very, very different way. So don't get stuck to all this. Don't get stuck in the thought, I'm a bad person. I'm an angry person. I'm a stupid person. I don't have patience. I'm have too short a temper. I'm too fearful. Of course, that's emotions. It's passing clouds. You'll move into another dasha period of the planets, and the planets will transit to a different sign, different house in your chart. You'll be acting totally differently. I've seen people, they start an intense Saturn period, and you know it because they start wearing all black. They stop doing anything that's good for them. They're just going along with it. Astrology would say at that time, wear the gemstone and the color of the planet that is positive in your chart. Bring that positive energy to shield you from the negative energy that Saturn will be bringing in that time. But people just go along with it because they get seized by the graha. So they start dressing in black and acting depressed. They eat less food and they get thin and they're undernourished and they start getting health problems because they're undernourished. They're denying themselves things, nourishment and happiness. We've got to give ourselves all the good things. But really, what we selfishly want is not always actually good for us. What's really good for us from the higher level will be good for everyone else around us as well. When you make a decision, you need to stop and think and say, not only is this good for me, is this what I want, but say, is this good for everyone else involved? Is this good for my family? Is this good for my co-workers? Is this good for my landlord? Is this good for my customers? Is this good for my acquaintances? Is this good for my neighbors? Before you have a party and turn the music loud, you need to think, is this good for my family, for my neighbors? Is this good for society? Is this good for America? And not just some portion of America. Is this good for the Nazi people in America, and the pacifist, peaceful people, and the violent people? Is this good for everybody? And if you can say that what you're doing should be good for everybody, then it's definitely a good thing. I don't mean to say you can't say something in closed doors you wouldn't say elsewhere. Part of the reason we started this Patreon was so I can be saying some things I can't be saying just publicly on the Facebook to people who's a more serious student who wants to work on things. You post some thoughts on Facebook and people get upset, they get defensive, they start criticizing, it becomes like they want to debate. Because of course they're not humble to really work on themselves. And so one reason is we can give a secret teaching, a deeper, a mystical teaching on the Patreon. So we've been a little busy with our move, posting less, but hopefully we'll be continuing that much more soon. We'll be getting settled soon. Hopefully God's grace, we'll see. It's all the Lord's will. So yes, we'll continue in the weeks to come talking about the niyamas. Om Namah Shivaya.
Thank you, Swami. For our japa practice, we will now be doing the Devi Panchakshari mantra. The Devi Panchakshari mantra is the 5-syllable mantra of the goddess. It is the same as the sacred Panchakshara mantra, Om Namah Shivaya, with the addition of the Shakti Bij, Hreem. It uplifts consciousness to the highest state of peace and bliss. It empowers our spiritual practices and grants liberation from all troubles. Though its literal meaning is Om, I bow to the goddess who empowers divine peace and consciousness, whose seed syllable is Hreem. True understanding of a mantra is in the spiritual experience it bestows to the seekers, as it elevates their level of awareness through dedicated practice over time.
We will do 108 repetitions of the mantra. Om Hrim Namah Shivaya. 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 Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
The instructions for the silent meditation are to sit silently, with your spine straight, shoulders back and relaxed. Close the eyes. Allow yourself to see the inner light of the divine radiating from your heart. If you do not see it, feel it. If distracting thoughts or feelings come into the mind, allow them to be. Witness them without hesitation, without judgment, without analysis. Allow the light of the divine to heal them, bringing deep peace and wisdom. In light, all darkness vanishes. Practice sitting in the inner light, which is bright like 10 million suns. Let this light heal you. Invite that experience. Allow it to guide your consciousness and impel your actions for the highest good of the three realms. Om. Puja is a traditional system of offerings coupled with mantras and visualizations revealed by the sages to help people seek the assistance of divine beings in their lives and spiritual practice. Puja ceremonies can be simple, as in the case of the offerings made daily in the homes of millions of Hindus, or extremely complicated, as are the rituals of temple consecration, which require the participation of hundreds of devotees and dozens of well-trained priests. The oil lamps, fruits, flowers, water, herbal incense, and other offerings provide prana, or subtle nutrients, for the devas and other inner realm beings to send blessings to the physical realm. The sacred mantras open a channel to the inner realms. The effects of puja are powerful to bring about peace and healing. During puja, problems are mysteriously resolved, and answers to difficult questions arise spontaneously by the grace of the many inner plane beings working to fulfill our prayer, empowered by the sacred mantras and offerings. We are conducting a simple pancha puja of 5 offerings. These offerings relate to the 5 elements and are pushpa, a flower, which symbolizes the ether element, gandha, or sandalwood paste, connected to the earth element, thupa, incense, symbolic of the air element, deepa, light, symbolizing fire, and naivedyam, food relating to water.
We will do 108 repetitions of the mantra. Om Adya Purvokta Evam Guna Visheshena Vishishtayam Asyam Shubhatithau Sri Soma Matha Sanghasya Asmakam Sah Kutumbhanam Kshemasthirya Virya Vijaya Ayura Roga Aishwaryanam Abhivriddhartham Shri Shakambhari Devi Prasada Siddhyartham Yatha Shaktya Shri Shakambhari Devi Pancha Pujam Karishe Om Apa Upasprisya Om Jata Veda Zezunavama Soma Marathi Hato Nidahati Vedaha Sanah Parshadati Durgani Vishvanaveva Sindhum Duritatyaknihi Om Am Sham Shakambhari Devye Namaha Om Bhurbhuvasvaha Asmin Chitrapathe Sri Shakambhari Devim Avahayami Sthapayami Om Am Sham Shakambhari Devye Namaha Gandhan Dharayami Gandhasyopari Haridra Kumkumam Samarpayami Om Am Sham Shakambhari Devye Namaha Pushpam Pujayami Om Am Sham Shakambhari Devye Namaha Dhupam Agrapayami Om Am Sham Shakambhari Devye Namaha Deepam Darshayami Om Amritamastu Amritopastaranamasi Om Pranaya Swaha Om Apanaya Swaha Om Vyanaya Swaha Om Udanaya Swaha Om Samanaya Swaha. Om Brahmane Swaha. Om Am Sham Shakambhari Devye Namaha. Naivedyam Nivedayami. Tambulam Nivedayami. Amritapaniyam Samarpayami. Om Yopam Pushpam Veda. Pushpavan Prajavahan Pashuman Bhavati. Chandramava Apam Pushpam. Pushpavan Prajavahan Pashuman Bhavati. Ya evam Veda. Yopamayatanam Veda. Ayatanavan Bhavati. Rajadhirajaya Prasaya Sahine. Namo Vayam Vahi Shravanaya Kurmahe. Same Kaman Kama Kama Yahmahyam. Kameshwaro Vaihe Shravano Dadhatu. Kuberaya Vaishravanaya. Maharajaya Namaha. Yo Vedado Swarah Prokto Vedante Cha Pratishtitaha. Tasya Prakriti Linasya Yah Parasamaheshwaraha. Narayanye Cha Vidmahe Shakambhare Cha Dhimahi. Tatno Devi Prachodayate. Om Am Sham Shakambhari Devye Namaha. Om Bhurbhuvassuvaha. Om Avahitabhyas Sarvabhyo Devatabhyo Namaha. Vedokta Mantra Pushpanjalim Samarpayami. Kale Varshantu Parjanyaha. Prithive Sasya Saritni. Desho Hyam Kshobarahitaha. Brahmana Sandhu Nirbhaya. Bhagavata Sandhu Nirbhaya. Sajjana Sandhu Nirbhaya. Sarvechana Sandhu Nirbhaya. Swaste Prajabhyah Paripalayantam. Nyayena Margena Mahimahisha. Go Brahmanebhyah Shubhamastu Nityam. Lokah Samastha Sukhino Bhavantu. Aim Kara Hrim Kara Rahasya Yukta. Shrim Kara Gudhartha Mahavibhutya. Om Kara Marma Pradipadinibhyam. Namo Namaha Shri Guru Padukabhyam. Ajnana Nashanaya Vidmahe Jnana Prakashaya Dhimahi. Tapno Guru Padukah Prachodayate. Om Shatamanam Bhavati Shatayuh Purushashatendriya Ayushevendrihe Pratitishthati. Om Sahatna Vavatu. Sahatna Bhunakto. Sahaviryam Karavavahai. Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sate. Shri Devi Arpanamastu.
We offer this Sangha freely. Please join our Patreon, donate, volunteer, and spread the word about our upcoming move. Namaste.